Something inside McLaren changed long before Oscar Piastri's form collapsed on paper. You could feel it in the garage, the slightly longer pauses on the radio, the tighter body language in debriefs. The way Oscar's engineers stopped sounding certain and started sounding careful. That's always the first sign. Not a crash or penalty, but hesitation. And people close to the team say that hesitation began the moment Monza's team order dropped like a cold weight in Oscar's helmet. The paddock tried to frame this as a slump or coincidence, but now with Martin Brundle laying out a forensic 5-point breakdown and Oscar admitting that Monza and Baku knocked his rhythm sideways, the story finally has shape. It isn't sabotage, it isn't classic favoritism, it's something more human, a quiet imbalance that hardened into a psychological pattern. Before we go deeper, if you love F1 without the noise, hit subscribe and let's get straight into it. Across 5 races, Oscar went from a 34-point lead over Norris to a 24-point deficit. That swing isn't mechanical, it's emotional. Brundle's line that the dice simply won't roll for him isn't poetry, it's diagnosis. He points to setup direction drifting toward Lando's preferences, confidence slipping after Monza, and the kind of internal tension that appears when a driver stops operating on instinct and starts trying to prove he deserves equal footing. Brundle didn't begin with drama, he began with data. After Monza, Oscar's telemetry carried the fingerprints of a driver pushing against uncertainty rather than flowing with confidence. His braking zones crept later. His steering traces developed micro-corrections, the signs of doubt. McLaren maintained equality, but equality only works when both drivers feel understood. The MCL39 upgrades deliver sharper front-end bite, perfect for Lando, unsettling for Oscar. He wasn't driving poorly, he was driving in conflict with the car's new rhythm. Baku and Austin made the issue visible. When Oscar tried to match Lando's aggression, the rear stepped out. When he softened the entry, he lost time. Both choices fed frustration, and that frustration finally broke through his radio. After Brazil's penalty, McLaren fitted soft and Oscar replied, "I hope you're more optimistic than I am." Not sarcasm, a driver signaling he felt outside the loop. That's the moment every top team fears, when the car stops being a partner and becomes something the driver must fight. But the true turning point wasn't Baku or Austin, it was Monza. Oscar executed perfectly, pace, tires, racecraft, and then came the message, swap positions. Brundle didn't call it political, he called it form shaping, a moment that tells a young frontrunner that hierarchy, not performance, holds the final word. Oscar wouldn't admit it publicly, but his tone said everything. From that moment, the season picked up a heavy rhythm. Every weekend after Monza carried a shadow. Baku's scrape, Austin's corrections, Brazil's second-guessing. It wasn't chaos, it was erosion, the slow, quiet kind that happens inside the headset. McLaren's equal treatment philosophy sounds noble, but Brundle argued it created a pressure cooker. Equality on paper becomes inequality in practice when the car's development naturally leans toward one driver's traits. Norris thrives with structure and a pointy front end. Oscar thrives on stability and flow. When both are forced into the same setup path, only one feels at home. Oscar's tension leaked into small moments, questioning tire choices, double-checking windows, confirming outlaps. Not rebellion, searching for trust. And that's where Brundle's point lands hardest. McLaren didn't mismanage Oscar by neglecting him. They mismanaged him by managing too much. The scoreboard reveals the cost. Since Monza, Norris has scored 115 points to Oscar's 57. Not because Oscar lost pace, but because hesitation costs more than mistakes. One extra lap in traffic in Austin, a cautious outlap in Mexico, a strategy he didn't believe in at Brazil. None individually fatal, together devastating. Brundle's chain reaction theory holds. Lose rhythm, question decisions, tighten driving, create micro errors, compensate harder, create bigger errors. Meanwhile, Norris, confident and aligned, extracts the car naturally. Psychology, not politics, is driving the gap. But the counter-arguments matter. UK analysts point out that Oscar's slump aligns with circuits that punish rear instability. Baku, Austin, Interlagos. Andres Stella echoed this. We didn't get everything right, but insisted the fundamentals remain balanced. In Australia, the narrative is more emotional. Suspicion of British bias is loud, but Mark Webber, who lived through real political fractures at Red Bull, isn't calling foul play. He's calling for environment, stability, breathing room. And this leads to the danger Brundle didn't have to state. Once a team's energy shifts slightly toward one driver, even unintentionally, the cracks whiten. Strategy becomes safer. Run plans become gentler. The struggling driver becomes the overthinking driver. The overthinking driver becomes the slower one, not because of talent, but because the mental load drains speed more efficiently than any mechanical issue. If McLaren don't fix that environment now, the dynamic could harden into something no upgrade can undo. But here's the part fans forget. This slump is reversible, completely. Norris himself climbed out of a slump earlier this season. Momentum in F1 is volatile. One clean Saturday, one committed first stint, one race where the rear stays planted and the radio stays calm, and the spiral ends. For that to happen, McLaren must give Oscar what he hasn't had since Monza: space, less overmanagement, clearer responsibility, trust. Oscar isn't fragile. He's a rhythm driver, and rhythm returns the moment the environment lets it. Brundle's message wasn't an attack. It was a warning delivered with respect. Oscar is too talented to stay down, but talent needs clarity, not noise. If McLaren reset the environment around him, the entire narrative can flip overnight. The next chapter of their season won't be written by politics. It'll be written by whichever driver finds clarity first. And if balanced properly, Oscar Piastri has everything he needs to flip the story right back to the center of the title fight.